Good evening. Welcome to the 5th District's 6th meeting, our last meeting of our nutritional program. Um, we're excited that we made it. We have our instructional teacher, Ms. Beth Noel from Purdue University Nutrition Program. And today she's going to share with us her last recipe, and I guess she'll do a recount of all that we have studied over the last 6 weeks. I'll turn the meeting over to her.
Thank you. All right, so tonight is our last class together. So we are going to try a salad. So I have a salad for us to try. This is actually one of my favorite salads to eat, and it's really super simple. It's spinach with feta cheese, sliced up apples, and cranberries.
See why it's your favorite.
Good stuff, right? All good stuff inside there. So we're going to give it a try. Hopefully you guys will like it too. And I got a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette for us to try with it.
Okay.
So just to give it a little bit or something. You could also do a raspberry vinaigrette with it if you wanted to. That would work fine. So are you guys excited for the last class?
Yes.
I'm excited and I'm sad because I like coming. So,
Well, we have to get you back here.
okay.
I learned a lot from you
You have,
about
awesome.
nutrition and looking at stuff and being more open-minded about different things, about
Mhm.
different foods and different food groups, and learning the nutrition context of things. And I also learned a lot about myself. I thought it was just the carbohydrates that was keeping the weight on me,
Mm-hmm.
because I love sweets. I found out that I like other things too. I like salt, and I like to snack.
Yeah. So it is. It's information that I give. It's some of it. It's you're like, oh, I knew that. But when it's presented in a new way, or it's presented as in a way
It
that's
makes
more
you go,
right, exactly. And then you're a little bit more willing to make a change. All right.
Oh, you said spinach.
Yes, ma'am. Spinach and feta.
Make sure you put some of that dressing on mine, because I want to try that.
Okay.
I never had that
Apples.
dressing. I used
There
to
you
get
go.
fat-free French. That's all I get.
That was
is
all?
Fat-free French, because that's the only thing I can find that's fat-free.
Okay.
Is- So this is gonna be a real treat for
This would
me.
be a definite treat then, for sure. Okay. I can get the lid open since we're in there.
And I appreciate you coming and sharing your knowledge.
Just want to give it a good shake.
Okay.
All right.
Don't you wanna try some of this dressing? Okay. I'm gonna shake it up really good.
Okay. Spinach, cranberries, apples, and feta cheese. Okay.
Very, very simple, but super tasty. Those flavors, something about those flavors just blend really well together.
Here you go.
So, and remember, dressing is fine, right? We can always put dressing on something if we want a little dressing, as long as we're eating salad with dressing, right? And that the salad is just not a vessel to get all that dressing into our system.
Okay.
Right? I like to use the example of carrots with ranch dressing, right? Carrots with ranch dressing can be really good. It's a really good snack. But when the carrot just ends up being a spoon to get the ranch dressing in, then we
That's
know
not a
that
good idea.
that's not good, right? Then we know that we're not really eating the carrots. We're just eating it to eat the ranch dressing. So we want to make sure that when we're thinking about salads, when we're thinking about snacks, it's okay to dip, but we're just dipping, right? And when we're using dressing, we're just using a little bit. We don't need a lot. We don't need wet salads. We just want a little bit of dressing.
And I found out that spinach had iron in it, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff in there, right? Lots of good stuff. So this recipe is in the book that you get tonight for your graduation book.
Thank
So
you.
you get a Eat Right for Less cookbook. So this is filled with different types of recipes from breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and even desserts.
Mhm.
So lots of good, healthy recipes in here, and they are all on a budget recipes. So all easy and inexpensive. And just like I make one dish meals here, a lot of these are one dish meals as well. So very inexpensive and easy.
Thank you. My nutritionist loves you.
Oh, really? That's good to hear. That
She
means
said
I'm
she
doing
didn't-
something
She
right.
said she didn't think I need her anymore. I said, oh yeah, yeah I do.
Wow, that's fantastic. So even your dietitian, your registered
That's what I
dietitian
mean.
was saying that
She said she
you had
liked-
learned so much from these classes that you
Mhm.
really didn't need to be seeing her.
She said I didn't need her anymore.
Fantastic.
And I told her, yes I do.
Right, yeah, you still want to have that reinforcement, somebody to talk to about it, because these classes are great, but when these classes end, having somebody to help hold you accountable, to help you to
That's
make
what I
the
need.
decisions, yeah.
Hold me accountable.
Mhm. So whether that's a dietitian or another nutrition type of class or program, or whether that's just a good friend, right? This is something that you can do with someone else. Healthy eating, if we're doing it with somebody, it makes it a little bit easier. Somebody you just kind of call and say, hey, I'm really wanting to eat that entire cherry cobbler I've got, right? And then they can say, well, it's okay to have a slice, it's okay to have a bite, but why don't we go take a walk together? Have your slice, and then let's go take a walk together. And that's going to make it a little bit easier than to not just sit there and keep eating on it.
Mhm.
So whenever we have somebody to help hold us accountable, accountable partners are awesome. So whether that's your dietitian or whether
Yeah.
that's a friend or a family member, we can always do that. All right, so Miss Erica,
Thank you.
there is your certificate of
Great.
completion.
Can I have a
Wow.
hug,
Thank
please?
you, yes ma'am.
Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
everything. I'm gonna hug you real hard.
Good.
Thank you. You will.
Miss
Thank
Linda,
you. Oh, the
Thank you,
penmanship is
ma'am.
beautiful.
appreciate you.
Oh, no, I appreciate you.
And I notice I feel better now that I try to eat better.
Good, absolutely, right? So that's so important to note because we really do start feeling better when we're eating
Mhm.
healthier. And it doesn't start immediately, right? I'm sure that first week or two even, where you were trying to eat healthy, it probably was difficult.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like you're like, oh, this is easy and I feel great. You're
Oh,
like,
no,
this
but-
is not easy. This is kind of hard and I
'Cause
don't
wanted,
like it.
I wanted the ginger ale with 5 tablespoons of sugar
Right.
and the chips and stuff.
Right, absolutely. So we want to be able to eat those things, right? But as we start to make those changes a little bit at a time, as we start to eat healthier, we start to make little changes, we start to notice, we start feeling better.
Mhm.
This is good.
Good salad,
Mhm.
right?
It's
This
really
is one of
good.
my favorite salads. It's super good. Mr. Evans.
Do we have a recipe for this salad? Well,
Yes.
I need to just memorize.
Yes, ma'am. It's in your booklet.
Oh,
In that
okay.
recipe book that I just
Okay.
gave you. It's in that one.
Great.
Right.
And yesterday was a Mother's Day, so my daughter wanted me to make her some crab cakes and some salmon croquettes, so everything was fried yesterday, but I did use the canola oil.
Okay.
So I remember what you said,
Yeah.
who said they never gonna eat a glazed donut again? That's not realistic.
That's not realistic. Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. We have to make our goals realistic. If I was
And it's a lifestyle change, it's
Yes.
not a diet.
It's
You gotta
not.
change your lifestyle.
right, exactly. I love that you've been listening. That's awesome.
Mhm.
You're gonna start teaching the classes. You're gonna take my job.
No, I couldn't do that, but, cause they'll be looking at me and she ain't small enough to be talking about nutrition. She just want us to do what she say and not what she do.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Maybe 50 pounds from now, I could probably help you teach a class, but not have a teacher class.
So I'm just glad that you learned the information though, that it was
Yeah.
it was understandable, that you
It was,
enjoyed the class,
I enjoyed it.
and really that's the
Thank
most important
you.
thing. Okay, go ahead. We want to be able to enjoy what we eat. We want to be able to enjoy the class. We want to be
And
able
not
to
have
enjoy
all
the-
that guilt.
Right, and not feel guilty. And my hand to God, 100% honest about what I eat. Friday night, I had fried chicken, fried okra, and fried apples. Okay, it was delicious. Right? It was a fantastic, delicious
how I
meal.
felt.
But and with
Yesterday.
biscuits, and on the biscuits I put butter and I put honey.
Oh,
So
you were at Cracker Barrel.
I was at Cracker Barrel. Okay, not to endorse anybody, of course.
Right. But
But,
that chicken is only gonna be there for a limited time.
Exactly. So my mother-in-law wanted to go. We
Chicken.
went out to dinner
Yeah, I
and
heard
we
everybody
enjoyed
say
it.
it's great.
Yeah, and it was delicious. We had a nice dinner and we enjoyed it. And I did not go home feeling guilty because I knew that that's not my normal dinner. I don't normally eat all fried foods for dinner. But to go out and to enjoy a dinner and still be able to eat what I like, was fantastic, and to not feel bad afterwards. And then the next day, I went back to normal eating again.
Right, like today, yesterday I ate bad, but today I went back to normal eating. I went back to the Cheerios for breakfast. Usually I have oatmeal or yogurt, and I told you I was getting tired of that oatmeal
Yeah.
and yogurt.
Oh, yeah.
But when you taught me how to approach my dietitian, it opened up a better,
Yeah.
what should I say, a better pool of food for me to choose from.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then one of the other things that I learned from you is that don't focus on what you can't have, focus on what you can have. And I like the way you showing us how to make substitutions.
Yes. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you've learned so much and you've enjoyed the classes. I hope that you spread the word and some
I
people
will.
come next
I
to the next
will.
ones. Because I think that it's good information, and I think that it's easy. It's information that's easy to digest, right? It's broken in a way that we can understand it. It's applicable. We can make sense of it, and we can start using it right away without.
Yeah, and you may not be expensive.
Yes, and it can be inexpensive. I live on a budget too, right? And most people do, and I understand that, and I want to be able to afford my food. I don't want to go into the poorhouse trying to eat healthy, right? And that tends to be what we think about healthy foods, that we can
Because
only
we go to the market
certain
and look at the price
restaurants.
of the fruits and vegetables, so much higher than the junk food.
Yeah.
Seems like the junk food is cheap.
Right, exactly. But then we do things like Doritos are on sale 2 for $5. Well, I'll buy 2
Right.
bags of Doritos for $5, and then we go to the aisle and we're like, oh, a bag of apples for $4. That's outrageous. I can't buy that. But we'll buy the 2 bags for $5 of Doritos, right? So sometimes it's just about making a better choice and not necessarily about having to spend more money.
Right, it was like the
So-
time my mother told me, we were in a health food store and they had this book that I wanted to buy for my daughter. She was about 3 or 4 years old. It was called Brown Eyes, Brown Skin. Because I wanted to see people in books that look like,
Right, look
like her.
Yeah.
Like her. And my mother said, you're going to spend $6.95 for a book. I said, Mama, we got people out there spending $80 for gym shoes for their kids. I mean, what am I trying to be? I'm trying to build a brain here now.
Right, yeah. What's the priority? What's the priority?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when we're talking about food too. So we have to think about what's the priority. Is my body and my health my priority? Right?
Is it important?
Is it important to me? And if it is, then we make changes. We make improvements, and we do the things we need to.
Right.
But it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg either, right? We
No.
can do it in a way that
I
doesn't.
found out we can get a lot of things at Dollar Tree.
Yes, you can. You can. A lot of stuff that we don't realize. So that's actually what this packet is that I have for you today. This is called our Eating Better on a Budget packet. So this information is about how can I eat the healthiest I can on a budget, because most of us are on a budget. And it's important to remember that not everybody has access to the same foods, right? Some areas, certain things are available where certain things aren't. If you were to go to, if you have a Whole Foods near you, you're going to get lots of fresh fruits and fresh cheeses and fresh meats that are available every single day on a regular basis. But that not all of us are going to live near a Whole Foods or near a grocery store that offers that to us. So sometimes we have to find substitutions, and that's okay, right? Like if your store doesn't offer the canned in water vegetable, it's okay to buy the canned with a little bit of salt in there, right? But we're gonna drain it and we're gonna
rinse it off.
Yep, exactly. If they don't offer fruit in water, you can only find your fruit in syrup.
Wash the syrup off.
Drain it and rinse it. It's better to get the fruit than it's to get nothing, right? So sometimes we just have to make some good substitutions, and that's what this is talking about. Is first of all the idea of planning. It's really important that we plan ahead when we're talking about needing to work on a budget with our groceries. So we want to make sure that we are thinking about what is it that I like to eat, what is it that my family likes to eat, and then we want to make a list based on the things that we like to eat. Once we have that list, then we can go through the cabinets in our home and we can see, do I have these products? And if I don't have the products, then that becomes my grocery list, right? Because what happens if I come home after a long day and my family wants tacos, but I don't have anything in the house to make tacos with, the local place that sells tacos is going to get my money that night, right? To have tacos, because we want to have tacos. I don't know what they put in the tacos there. I don't know how much butter or how much fat or how much salt or if any sugar or what the products were that they used. If I buy it myself and I make it at home, not only is it going to be cheaper for me to be able to make them, but on top of that, I know how much sodium and salt went in there. I know how much sugar maybe was in the products. I know what I'm eating. Here's your packet for you. So it's really important that we think about that we're making some sort of plan. What do we like to eat? How do I make it? What are the ingredients I need? Do I have those ingredients in my home? And then making my grocery list based on the things I actually need.
Right.
And then just a tip when it comes to your grocery list, take a picture of it with your phone.
Oh, okay.
Because so many times we get to the grocery store
And we don't
and we don't have the list,
That
right?
happens a lot. A lot of times we don't have the coupons either.
Right. So if you can do digital coupons, a lot of phone apps that you can do now will have that kind of thing. So if you have access to that, that's great. If not, we got to be kind of mindful about remembering to bring those with us. But the grocery list itself, if we take a picture of it, it's on our phone, most likely we will have our phone with us, even if we forget the list. So it's a good way to make sure we have that list with us. Number 2 is looking to get the best price. We want to make sure we're getting the best priced goods, right? So that might mean that we have to look through the newspaper ads. We might have to look through coupons. We may have to look around for those to make sure that we are getting the best price we can. Looking for sales when sales happen, right? The thing is about sales, though, sometimes we get a little crazy with sales, right? Like, we'll say green beans are on sale, right? Canned green beans are on sale. 15 cents a can. That's a good deal, right? And then we want to run out and buy 25 cans of green beans. But if your family doesn't eat green beans, it doesn't matter how good the sale is. That's money that's going to go to waste, right? So even if we are doing sales, we want to make sure that we're buying stuff we will actually use. We don't want to just buy to buy. We want to make sure that what we're buying we will actually use.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Sorry.
You're fine. We're glad to have you. So we're looking to plan ahead. We want to get the best deal. And then we want to compare, right? We want to make sure that we're comparing our products. Because sometimes we can even use that nutrition facts label that we talked about, right? We can use that label. If we're buying macaroni and cheese, and both boxes only cost $1, but one box serves 2, and one box serves 4, we're getting a much better deal out of the box that serves 4, right?
Right.
So we can even use that to compare, to find out, make sure we're getting the best price. And then we can also compare using the unit price. And so I've given you some information on unit prices. It's on the back of the last page that I gave you. And if you've noticed when we go to the grocery store to buy groceries, there's our big number of what it costs, right? In this case, it's $5.49 for this particular product. But right next to it in a little box is what it costs per ounce or per unit. And so sometimes we get pretty excited. We'll talk about, we'll say spaghetti sauce, right? So we'll say ragu is on sale, 3 for $5, and there's a big sign, it's on the end cap, they've got all of them out pretty looking, and we're like, ooh, that's a good deal, right? And we're gonna buy those. But if we would have gone into the spaghetti sauce aisle, there might have been a much better price had we looked at the unit cost, right? So if I'm paying 10 cents per ounce for the ragu, but I could have bought maybe the off-brand or a store brand or another name brand, and paid 8 cents per ounce, even though it wasn't the sale one, it was still the better priced option because I was doing less per ounce, so I'm paying less overall. So we can use that unit price or price per ounce to find the best deal. These that we see in the stores, they should be in every store. So we should be able to find this at whatever store we go to, we should be able to find those. So that's a really good way. Sometimes we'll see buy in bulk, right? And that's one of the things that it talks about in number 4 is buy in bulk. And buying in bulk can sometimes be a really good deal, but not always, right? Just because it says it's a bulk item or the family box doesn't mean it's the best price box. So again, we're going to go back to that unit price and we're going to see what am I actually paying. I'm going to buy all this toilet paper, 32 rolls of toilet paper, right? Because it's the bulk buy, and maybe that's the best buy. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm paying too much per individual unit in that 32 package, right? So we can use that unit price to find out what am I actually paying for each one, so I know what I'm getting the best deal.
So the unit price should be on every item?
It should be on every item that you buy at the store. Yes. Number 5, buying in season, right? Buying in season is really important. So blueberries are only in season for a short time, right? Strawberries are only in season for a short time. Right now we can get strawberries, they're starting to come down in price, right? But just a couple of months ago, if we did try to buy strawberries, we were paying $2, $3, $4, $5 for a little carton. In the summertime, we can get that same carton for 99 cents, right? So buying in season is going to be one of our best ways to buy for a good price, is looking for things when they're in season. Some fruits freeze really well, like blueberries. So if you buy blueberries when they're in season, you can get them at the best price. Freeze them. Bring what you need home. Package what you're not going to use. Put them in good freezer packages. Put them in the freezer. And you're going to have blueberries all year round, and you still will have paid the best price for them. So sometimes we can make that option. Number 6, going back to the basics, right? We have a lot of convenience items.
Is that the same thing for bananas?
Bananas can be frozen, yes. And sometimes of the year they are a better price than they are others. But bananas are usually one we can buy all year round for
It's
free.
about freezing them, because
But for freezing, yeah, you can freeze bananas for sure. They're really good in smoothies if you freeze them.
That's good to know.
Yeah, right. Or if you do, if you like bananas in your oatmeal, you can do frozen bananas in your oatmeal. That's good too, because they start to thaw in the oatmeal, and then they're good in your mouth. So, yeah, so that's another way to get them into if you're wanting to freeze them. So that going back to basics, that's talking about we have so much convenient item, right? We can go to the store and we can buy onions pre-chopped and peppers pre-chopped, and we can buy all this stuff in convenience packaging. But that doesn't make it the best price for us.
Yeah, usually it's high.
Usually
Because
it
they
costs
already
more.
chopped it.
You
work
you
for it.
pay, yeah, you paid for somebody else to do all that work for you. So sometimes it is buying it at the best price, right? And convenience can be okay sometimes, right? And some of the things that I have cooked for you guys, I have brought, I brought frozen peppers and onions and things, right? They were $1 a bag. It was already all cut up for me. I could not have bought an individual onion, green pepper, red pepper, and celery for what I paid for my one frozen bag of pre-cut product.
Right.
So sometimes it can be an okay option, but we want to always be comparing pricing, right? Which is going to be the better price for me? If having it already cut up and ready to go is not the best way to go for pricing, then I'm going to go back to basics, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to cut them things myself, right? And save that little bit of money. We can prep when we get home from the grocery store even. I can buy all this product, and then I get home, and if I just stick it in the refrigerator, the only time it's coming back out is when I go to clean out the refrigerator and throw out the stuff that's no longer good, right? That happens sometimes. So instead of doing that to ourselves, what we can do is before we put it in the refrigerator, we can do our prep work. We can wash it, clean it, bag it individually to how much we would use each time, or we can even go as far as cutting it up and having it ready to go. So when we come home and it's been a long day, and you're like, I'm really hungry, and that chicken Creole sounds delicious, but I don't have time to cut onions and red peppers and green peppers up. And then we're just like, forget it, I'll just call McDonald's, or I'll just run over to wherever and get something to eat. But if we already had those things pre-cut in the refrigerator, we just had to open it up, pull them out, drop them into our pan, how much easier it would be to actually go ahead and cook at home. So doing a little bit of the prep work ahead of time can be very beneficial as well. And when we do that, then we can freeze it, right? We can throw some of it in the freezer, so that way it doesn't just sit in the refrigerator and go bad. And I know that happens for a lot of people when they buy vegetables. They just sit in the refrigerator until they go bad. So cutting them up ahead of time, having them ready to go, and then putting some in the freezer can be very beneficial.
Don't you gotta wait till they unthaw?
You do not have to wait for them to de-thaw. When you're cooking with them, you can throw them right into your dish frozen.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's time to wait for them to de-thaw, right? You can just them in there. Now, if you're wanting to eat them, raw, then you want to make sure you keep some in your refrigerator already raw, so that way you can just go ahead and eat them raw. But those frozen ones, they can be thrown right in to cook. We've actually done that in class, so. All right, number 7, certain foods are typically low-cost options year-round. Apples and bananas, generally we can buy those all year for about the same cost. So looking for those options, canned goods, frozen goods, right? If we can't get fresh, frozen is okay, and canned can be okay. Remember, we're looking for low-sodium canned goods whenever possible, and when we're buying canned goods that are a fruit, we're looking for canned in water or canned in 100% fruit juice. If those options are not available to us, we can even buy it canned in the syrup, but we want to make sure that we are always draining and rinsing our canned goods to So I'd rather that you have it than not have it. So if you have to get it from a canned good, that's fine. Look for the best canned good option you have available to you. And then if you can't get it, try to get it fresh whenever possible. And even with our fruits, if we have to do fruit juice, that's okay, 100% fruit juice.
You got a pen?
Yes, ma'am.
You recording?
Alright, so number 8, cook once and eat all week. So this one is difficult for a lot of people. Most of us do not have a whole day to just devote to cooking food. And I know that that's a big thing with prepping. We hear a lot about, oh, well, you should need to prep, right? You need to prep. So you need to spend all day cooking and then separate and get out into these little containers and then, no, right? That's not real life. I ain't got time for that. So I need it to be realistic for me. I need it to work for me. So what they're talking about here is if I know that I'm going to make a big spaghetti dinner, I'm going to make spaghetti already, then I'm going to make twice as much as I usually would. And that way I have enough to serve my family once, and the rest of it I'm going to put in the freezer baggie, and I'm going to put it in the freezer. So that way in a couple weeks, when we need to have spaghetti again, I've already got one made, right? On a night when maybe I have to go to school that night, I've been at work all day, I got to school that night, I'm not going to have time to cook. My husband and my son, they can pull it out of the freezer themselves, right? And heat it up like they actually would, probably not. But the option is there, right? The option is there for them to be able to have something to eat. So we can do that for ourselves as well. If you're making chili, if you're making soup, anything that you can make in a larger portion, right? Then we can separate it out and half of it we can freeze so that way we have it again for another time. So that's what this is really talking about. I would not say cook one time, eat all week, literally meaning cook one time and try to eat that same food all week long. We'd be so bored with the same food over and over again. And I know for sure we don't have that kind of time to do all that prep work. So if we can just, if we're gonna cook a little bit more at a time. So you have some leftovers that you can either eat for lunch, maybe you can save for another meal, etc. Number 9, get creative with your leftovers, right? So leftover chicken can become chicken tetrazzini, like we made here, right? Or it can become a chicken stir fry. Doesn't just have to be the same old chicken, right? We can turn it into something new. Same thing with any kind of foods that we're eating, right? We don't have to just throw them away. We want to be able to be creative, reuse them with some sort of purpose. We want to make sure that we're using our food. Anything that we throw away when it comes to our food, those are our dollars that we are throwing in the trash. We're so picky when we get to the store, right? We talked about that idea of we'll buy the Doritos 2 for $5, but we won't buy the bag of apples for $4. So, but then we get those apples and we're like, oh my gosh, I paid $4 for these apples. I can't believe I spent all this money. And then nobody eats them, and we throw them away. And it's just like, oh, well, nobody ate them, we just throw them away. No, that's $4 you just threw in the trash that nobody ate, right? So we have to find ways to make sure that we are actually eating the food that we buy. So goes back to number 1, right? Plan. Make sure that you are planning for the things that your family will actually eat. If your family doesn't eat artichokes, don't buy artichokes. Even if they're the cheapest things on sale and you think, I'm going to get this good deal, it's not a good deal if nobody's going to eat it and you're just going to throw it away, right? So planning, making sure we get the things that we want, looking for the best prices, comparing, am I getting the best price? Looking at the unit cost, maybe buying the family package or the bulk package is the best deal. And if it's not, then looking, making sure, comparing and contrasting those prices, looking for things in season, buying things in season, going back to the basics. We don't always need convenience items, right? Sometimes it's okay for us to do our own prep work. Being careful with buying the things that are the low-cost options so they can stay easy on our wallet. Making sure if we're going to make something that can be frozen, that we make enough of it to freeze a whole other meal. So we have that option available to us at another time. Being creative with our leftovers so that we don't throw away our money. And then when it comes to eating out, restaurants can be expensive, right? Nothing wrong with eating out. If we want to eat out every once in a while, perfectly fine to do. But we can even eat out on the best option, right? So some restaurants are considered our expensive restaurants. If we go to the early bird special and we eat a little earlier in the evening, we can get a better deal. Sometimes they offer a 2 for 1. Sometimes they have coupons in the paper. Sometimes they offer a gift card. Say you buy $20 worth of their gift card, they give you $5 for free. Well, if you know that's a restaurant that you like to go eat at, buy the $20 gift card, get the $5 free. That's $5 of free food, right? You're gonna be there anyways eating. You might as well go ahead and buy the gift card for 20 bucks. So now you have $25 to eat on instead the next time you go, right? So if you already know you're gonna be there, try to look for the best way to spend your money so that you're not overspending even when we go out to eat. And then of course, because we're talking about nutrition in this class, right? We're gonna pick the healthiest options we can when we're at the restaurant, most of the time, all right? Doesn't have to be every time. Cheese fries call my name sometimes, right? It doesn't have to be the best option every time, but most of the time, we are gonna pick the healthiest option that we can pick. Any questions on that sheet? All right, some good information there. On the back of that is another 10 tips for you, and these are saving more at the grocery store. So we talked about eating better on a budget. The other 10 are for you to read on your own. These are saving more at the grocery store. The next sheet I want us to just quickly look at, this is a planning sheet. And it says plan, know what's for dinner. So this is just a way for us to kind of get into the mode of planning, because planning can be kind of difficult to get started with. And again, if you look up planning online, if you look at the pictures and things that they show online, it's outrageous. I know that that's not real life. I'm not going to dress up in heels and wear makeup and put my hair in curls and stand in my kitchen, right, and put bows on things. I'm never going to do that. So that's not for me. But I can think about what my family likes to eat. I can write those things down. I can write down the ingredients that I need. I can check my cabinets to see if I have those ingredients. And then what I don't have becomes my grocery list. So that way when I go to the grocery store, I'm buying the things I actually need that I and my family will actually eat. Okay? So this is just to get started with that planning. It has your main dishes and side dishes. And then it has a what are we going to eat for the week. And it gives you all the days of the week. And you can kind of start putting some things in, right? And if you're not sure and you are cooking for other people in your home, ask them, right? It's not all on you. It doesn't have to all be on just one person. If there's anybody else in your home, ask them, what do you like to eat? If they like hamburgers, that's okay, right? Write down hamburgers. If they like tacos, write down tacos. Now, if they're saying they want filet mignon wrapped in bacon, that's probably not going to end up on our list, right? If we're being real. But we can ask, what is it that we like to eat? What is it that you like to eat? And we can start writing those things in, and that can help us to start building that plan, building that idea of what is it that we are going to eat throughout the week, so that we can start buying the things we need to make the things we actually want to eat. That'll save us some money. And I'm all about saving money. All right, so that was our last lesson, but I want to go back through the lessons that we've already talked about just quickly and touch on those. So that way we have just a good basic understanding of everything that we've talked about, right? So our week 1 together, we talked about the importance of eating the foods that we like, but not eating as much. So we talked a little bit about portions and what portions look like. We used our hand, and we said if we draw a circle around the palm of our hand, that's about 3 to 3.5 ounces of a protein, right? And we can use the thickness of our hand, or how thick should that steak or chicken or turkey be, 3 to 3.5 ounces. We said if we make a fist with our hand, that's approximately 1 cup. But we can even use our knuckles for a fourth, a half, 3/4, and a whole cup. This is my personal serving, right? My hand is not the same size as anybody else's hand in here. This is my personal serving, right? And I use the example of my husband, who is almost 6'4". He's almost 300 pounds. He's a really big guy. His hand's going to be way bigger than mine, right? If he eats what I eat, he's going to be hungry. If I eat what he eats, I'm overeating, right? So our hands are very personalized to us. My mom, barely 5'2" if she stands really tall, right? She's a little itty bitty petite woman, beautiful petite woman. Her hands are much smaller than mine. If she eats what I eat, she's overeating. If I eat what she eats, I'm going to be hungry, right? So this is very well easy way to say this is my 1 cup serving for my hand. So we talked about that week 1. Week 2, we talked about the 5 food groups. We talked about our dairy products, that we need 3 cups of dairy a day, but that we want to be careful with our dairy because there's a lot of fat in our dairy products. So we want to look for reduced fat products whenever possible. So we're looking for our 1% milk, our low-fat cheeses, skim milk, cheese made with skim milk. We're looking for those low-fat options whenever possible. If you do yogurt, we're looking for a lower-fat yogurt product. My favorite yogurt I shared with you guys is a full-fat yogurt, all right? So sometimes a little bit is okay, but then I'm not gonna pair that food with another high-fat product, right? So we look about how do I balance my plate. Then we said we need to eat our protein. Protein is really important for us. Protein is a building block. It helps our body to build, so it's really important we eat our protein. But we only need 5.5 ounces of protein a day, or 2 servings, and so that would be about 2 palms worth. So if you have 2 palms worth of chicken on your plate at night for dinner, that's all the protein you needed for the whole day. But remember, protein is not just our meat and our seafood. It's also our beans and our peas and our seeds and our nuts and our eggs and our peanut butters, right? Those are all gonna fall into our protein group. I love you have all your papers. You're pulling them all out, right? So we wanna make sure that we are thinking about the importance of protein for our diet, but that we don't overdo protein. Because just like anything else, when we are out of balance, when we overdo it, our body cannot consume more than what it can take. When it comes to our protein, if we do more than our body can take, our body will say, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this extra energy it's giving me. I probably should hold on to it because maybe I'll need it tomorrow. And the way our body stores is by turning things into fat. So even our proteins can be turned into fat for storage on our body. So we don't want to go over even with our protein. We want to eat the right amount for us. And protein's a little bit difficult, right? Because everybody's a little different when it comes to protein. Age, gender, activity levels, those are all going to affect how much protein we need. A construction worker, gonna need more protein than a computer analyst who's sitting at a computer all day, right? Those are 2 very different types of activities. They're gonna need different amounts of protein. A senior is gonna need a different type of protein than a 17-year-old basketball player, right? We're gonna need different amounts. So everybody needs a little bit different, but for the average, 5.5 ounces a day. Any questions on those 2? All right, we talked about fruits and vegetables, right? Fruits and vegetables. Our fruit, we need 2 cups of fruit a day. Vegetables, we need 2.5 cups a day. So that's a lot of fruit and vegetables that we need to eat throughout the day. So we have to think about how do I get them in all day long in order to spread that out to be able to get all of it in. Nobody wants to sit down to dinner and eat 2.5 cups worth of a vegetable. Even if it's your favorite vegetables, it can be very difficult to eat 2.5 cups worth every night. So we want to spread that out throughout the day. We can have some with our breakfast, some with our snacks, some with our lunch, some with our dinner, and that way we get all of it in. When it comes to our fruit, different colors. Different colors help represent different vitamins, so we want to make sure we're getting lots and lots of colors of those fruit into our diet. 2 cups is the max with fruit because it has natural sugar in it. So we don't want to overdo our sugars, so we're sticking with our 2 cups. Just our 2 cups, and we're going to get a variety of color. Vegetables, the 2.5 cups, really important to get those in. Vitamins, minerals, nutrients that keep our body strong and healthy. So we want to make sure we're getting those vitamins in from our vegetables. And eating those darker color vegetables, we said generally the darker colors have more nutritional value. So we're looking for the best nutritional value with our foods, so we want to get those in. I had a question at one of my other classes, and they said, well, I eat a lot of soul food, so I eat a lot of greens. And I was told those aren't good for me. Greens are great for you. I don't know why anybody would ever tell someone that. Greens are so good for us. They're delicious, and they can be really healthy. However, if you're making your greens with lard, that is not so healthy, right? So it's all about how we're preparing the food. So if you can't have greens without lard and bacon in them, then there's a problem, right? That's a little too much for us. But we can have the greens. It's just about how are we preparing them. And they don't have to be just plain old like steamed and that's it. You don't get any flavor in there. We can still add things to them, but it depends on how much we're putting in there, right? So enjoy the food you eat, but be careful with portions. Be careful with how much we put in. Nothing wrong with them. We said that with coffee too, right? Nothing wrong with a cup of coffee. But if your cup of coffee has another cup worth of creamer in it and sugar in it, that's when there's an issue, right? Nothing wrong with drinking coffee. How much am I putting into it? What's going into that coffee? So we always want to be thinking about the portions, how much, how often am I eating this product? All right, so that's our fruits, that's our vegetables, that's our protein, and that's our dairy. What's our last food group? Anybody remember?
Grains, carbohydrates.
Grains, right? That's our grains group. So grains, we all the time, we are hearing all the time in the media, don't eat bread, right? But grains are actually our body's favorite source for energy. So we need to eat some grains. We have to have a little bit in our system. We want that energy from them. but we don't want to overdo them. Just like the rest of our diet, we are looking for balance on our plate. We are not looking to overdo anything. We get 6 ounces of grains a day. That's it, just our 6. And out of those 6, at least half, 3 of them, should come from a whole grain source. That's the way we get that extra fiber. And the fiber really important and beneficial to our health and to our nutrition, to our gut, to keep our gut healthy. We want to make sure we're getting enough of that fiber in there. That fiber is also going to help pull out some of that extra fat and cholesterol that's in our system. Not one for one, I can't eat a pizza and then have a slice of whole grain bread and be like, I'm good, it's pulling all the extra fat out, right? It doesn't really work that way. But it's beneficial, it helps us, it helps pull the extra fat and cholesterol out of our system. So eating those whole grains, really important. And we only get the 6 total grains for the whole day. Then we talked about making smart choices, right? And we helped our friends, 24-hour diet recall. We looked through what they ate for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack, and we decided what was the best things for them to be eating. Did they eat healthy or not? And we made that decision. And we helped them to make better choices. And then we looked at the food that they ate, and we were all like, that's a lot of food that they got to eat on this healthy eating dietary plan. So it's important that we are remembering that we don't have to be starving when we're trying to eat healthy. Too many times people want to eat healthy, they give up everything, and then they're hungry, and that lasts for about 5 minutes. And then they're ready to just eat what they want.
Right.
So we have to do things like we talked about in the beginning, making smart goals. What can I actually accomplish? If I am eating nothing but junky foods right now, I can't tell myself that tomorrow I'm going to eat nothing but healthy food. It's not going to work. I have to do a little bit at a time. I'm going to start eating some healthier foods. And then I'm going to eat some more healthier foods. And then I'm going to say, I can now eat all healthy foods because I've moved far enough away from the unhealthy foods that I can be making best choices for me. Right, small steps. We don't have to do it overnight. Then we talked about physical activity and the importance of physical activity in our diet. Not only do we eat healthy, but we also have to keep moving. The more we move, the better for us. We need to be exercising. We need to be moving more. We need to be picking activities that we like to do. We need to be choosing to do those activities. We need to get out in our community. We need to be doing some movement. We need to move in our own homes. Take the steps instead of the elevator, right? Just simple things. It doesn't have to be that you buy a gym membership or that you travel to somewhere to trek the world, right? It doesn't have to be elaborate, but we need 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week of physical activity that is separate from our normal activities, right? So if you are a construction worker, you are typically pretty physically fit all day long, doing a lot of physical activity. That doesn't mean that when you come home that you can just lay around. You still need 30 minutes of physical activity on top of your norm. So we want to do that at least 5 days a week, and again, we're looking for smart goals. Is it measurable? Is it attainable? We want to make sure that we are getting to that place, right? If you don't do any physical activity today, and you tell yourself, I'm going to start working out 2 hours a day starting tomorrow, that's unrealistic, right? We're not going to wake up the next day and work out for 2 hours. It's just unrealistic. But I can tell myself, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm going to just start by simply taking a 10-minute walk today. I'm going to walk around the block a couple times before I come home. Whatever that looks like for you, right? Maybe you like to dance. Maybe you're going to turn on the music and dance in your own home while you're cooking that healthy meal that you're making now, right? So whatever it is that you like to do, you pick what you like, you choose to do it, right? You find a place in your time in your day when you can do it, whether it's 30 minutes at one time, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, 20 minutes and 10 minutes, however you get your 30 minutes in. So 30 minutes at least 5 days a week, and you can start very simply. Maybe it's just 1 day a week you can do it. And then it's 2 days, and then it's 3 days, et cetera, right? We're making small goals, attainable goals that we can get to easily. And then today, we talked about eating healthy on a budget and what that looks like and how we can actually still afford to buy the foods that we want. We can buy those healthier foods as long as we're being mindful about the foods that we purchase. Making sure we're buying the food we will actually eat, foods we will actually use, and then just taking a few tips here and there to make sure that we are able to stretch those food dollars out to make it last for us all month long on the budgets that we have set. Any questions for me on any of the classes or topics that we've talked about?
I still didn't make mine go. This is my 3rd class.
And that's okay. That's all right, right? You just
I'm
keep
trying
trying.
for you.
Just keep trying. Just keep trying. As long as you are trying, you are making a goal, right? Because the goal is to keep trying. That's the biggest goal. And as long as you keep trying every day, you are making that goal.
I want to know you have any business cards.
I do have a business card.
Can I have one, please?
Make it true, cause I got 2 more questions I want to,
Do you want to be able to complete?
yes,
Thank you. I'm sure hear from me.
That's fine, that's fine. So we do offer classes throughout the community, right? We're here in Gary, all the way up through Whiting. So we're everywhere. You can find us at almost any library. You can find us at most of the parks departments. You can find us at the WIC offices. You can find us in your community. So you can more than welcome to email me or call me or text me. That's fine. And I'll help you find a class to get you into that'll be close to you in your area.
okay.
All right. Any other questions for me?
Fiber.
Yes, ma'am.
How much fiber a day? I forgot.
25 grams.
Okay. And you shouldn't introduce a whole lot of fiber into your system all at once.
Right, yes. If
'Cause
you're
you
not
gonna have a
currently
problem.
eating fiber, we do need to start putting it into our system. But we don't want to go home and just eat all fiber all day long. We will be very sick to our stomach, right? And then we won't want to eat it. So we have to introduce it a little bit at a time until we reach that 25 grams a day. For women, because I have all women, for women, sometimes we get to that 25 grams and our stomach is still sick, it's sometimes a little bit too much for us. So we can back that down a little bit, and then you can talk to your doctor and say, I tried to get to the 25 grams, but it was too much for me. I backed down to 20 grams, and that seems to be okay. Is that all right for me? And usually our bodies are pretty easy to tell. Our bodies help us know what's right for us and what's not.
So fiber don't come from dark green leafy.
You can get some fiber from fruits and vegetables, but you get more fiber from your whole grains. Although beans
So
usually tend to be pretty high.
Okay.
So you can get fiber from most of our food products. We want to try and get it in whenever we can. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Do you guys want to try our snacks?
We would like to thank Bess for coming out these 6 weeks,
I'll get you
sharing
some
this
salad.
valuable information with us. And we look forward to seeing you May 20th for our next meeting, which will be on our 5x5x5 cleanup. Thank you again for coming out. I'm Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell.
We got to thank you too.